live.
We are? Riskit Design's husband. Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Joking.
This is new, and we're gonna try it. That's your personal camera,
Ooh.
by the way.
For the guests.
For the guest.
I'm always the guest.
I'm Kristi.
Mm-hmm.
This is Johnny,
Hello.
and we are
Riskit Design's husband.
Yes.
You're Riskit Design's husband too?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Okay, so we don't know what we're doing right now, but
Mhm.
we at least wanted the first episode to be about the beginning
Yes.
and the middle and the end
Mm-hmm.
and the current. So the history,
Mhm.
because I wanted to talk about it in the Art as a Career video series that I'm doing,
Yep.
which has 2 episodes, and they were 4 months apart.
Yep.
It's not a great series.
Each episode is a season. You
Yeah.
gotta wait.
Well, water.
Almonds. Sorry.
I took the almonds away so you wouldn't eat them. I'm gonna put a sound effect there for water.
There you go.
Oh, here, I'm gonna use the sound
Water.
effect one more time.
ASMR. You like our new mic, by the way?
He's a little baby mic. I gotta put stickers on it. Oh, that'd be fun.
Yep.
Okay, so, I wanted to talk to you about.
Am I in trouble?
I wanted to talk to you. So I wanted to share the history of Riskit, and you were there for all of it.
Mm-hmm.
This year we'll be together for 10 years.
10 years.
10 years. And yeah, I just wanted you to go along the timeline with me as the spouse of the creative entrepreneur, as I was discovering that about myself and then starting my business.
Right.
So it'd be really fun to talk about the double sides of that.
Yes.
That's what we're here to do today. We'll figure out what the future episodes are, but I figured this would be the perfect place.
We're the support
start.
system.
Yes, yeah. Shout out to all the spouses of creatives. You know who you are. But yeah, because it's like I mentioned this before, that it's like you are the like invisible backbone of it all. Like people know you're there, but they don't know like
What I look like.
or like how much they don't know what you look like. 'Cause
What
you
I
don't
sound like.
You don't post on Riskit Design's husband. That's why you post more on Japarian's husband. If you're wondering, that's the same person. It's not a different husband.
Comment if you want me to post more on Riskit Design's husband.
I was saying that once we make enough money where we can both stay home and run the business, then he'll start posting more on that Instagram.
I'll start a whole series.
For now, you're just
Messing with
Japarian's.
Riskit.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, so let's get into it.
Okay.
So, 2017, spring 2017.
March 2017.
Oh, specifically March?
Oh, I don't know. Isn't spring in March?
Yeah, it is. March is in spring, actually.
March is also my birthday.
March is
Who's gonna give me gifts?
Pisces squad.
Pisces squad.
But yeah, so spring 2017 is when I graduated college. Oh, you can't see it. My degree is there. You know why it's there? It's where the door swings open and it hides it.
We keep it behind the door.
Anyway, so I graduated from HPU in spring. What were you doing at that time? This was spring 2017.
I was debating.
No, I think you already did.
I quit my job. Yes.
Yeah.
I had quit my restaurant job of 6 years.
Yeah, we call her the ex-girlfriend.
My ex-girlfriend. I broke up with my ex-girlfriend of 6 years. Not literally my ex-girlfriend. And I was jobless for about 3 months or so.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So we call this the limbo.
The limbo phase.
The limbo period. Because I got a business degree, and it was just, you're just told to start plugging your resume into like different corporate arenas, and that's not actually what I wanted to do. Sorry, Dad. We could joke about it now because at the time my parents were very pressured me.
Yes.
Very pressured. They
very pressured me.
Yeah. So at the time I was working at a small local coffee shop. I was always working for small businesses.
Yep.
So I was still working at a cafe at the time, and my dad kept asking me, like, have I applied to places? Like, where have I put my resume?
What are you going to do?
When
What's
are you
your
going to
plan?
get out of the cafe?
Yeah.
And secretly, it's just not what I wanted to do. So I just kept, like, ignoring his text messages. Sorry, Dad. But it's funny. We could joke about it now. But, yeah, so I was still working at the cafe, and I didn't want to work corporate. And the reason for that, and we talk about this a lot, is because we are able to live vicariously through each other's experiences, because we had very different career experiences as well as different like life upbringings, and so that's why we made the perfect team. But limbo period, because I had finished college, and as many other fellow college graduates know, you don't really know what you do right after, unless you did a bunch of internships and you made a lot of friends, but that was not me. And you had just quit your lifelong partnership with a single company.
With food service
industry. And, you should talk about that, because you had kind of a little personal crisis in that period.
Yeah.
You enjoyed it first, being unemployed.
Yes. During, so I think I was when I quit the restaurant, I was jobless for about 3 months.
Yep.
But the first month and a half of my so-called vacation.
Yeah, that's what it was at first.
No, I really enjoyed it
Yeah.
because I kind of got like a well-deserved rest, breather, relaxation time again. I think I remembered saying that I had to teach myself how to relax again.
Right. We both were very like work driven, like in the sense that you were very like, you worked all the time and you worked your way up the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
And I had never taken a break from school. So we were the same in that sense, where like we've never had like a large time off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so so the first month and a half was really nice. I was able to kind of relax and enjoy myself again. And then the second half was when I was feeling a bit lost. And that's because I think after, or even like during high school, all my job experiences were all food industry.
Yeah.
And so after quitting the restaurant, and telling myself that I personally didn't want to go back to the food industry, I was just lost.
Yeah.
All I knew and was good at was
Anything related to
the food industry, service.
And a lot of people will find that like that's really it's a sad and common experience of attaching your identity to whatever it is you do for work.
Yeah.
So you were in this process of like, what am I even good at? Like, what job could I even do after this if it's not the food industry?
Yeah, people would ask me like,
what are your strengths?
Yeah.
What are your skills?
What do you like? What are you good at? And then all I could say was like, I mean, I didn't want to say it, but it was like serving.
Yeah,
serving.
Customer service.
Customer service, yeah. Like I love talking to people.
You're really personable.
I'm really personable.
Yeah, you're good at that.
Yeah.
But you've never done anything outside of that, so
Yes.
you didn't know how it like could translate to any other position.
I think skill-wise is what I had a hard time thinking.
Yeah.
So I was jobless for
3
months. I enjoyed the first half as a vacation, and I stressed out the second half. And that's when Kristi actually introduced me to the small shop next door.
That you work at.
I guess you can catch them up on all the in-betweens now.
Yeah. So while we were both in this like miserable limbo period, this is actually where Brooke comes into the picture.
Yep.
Our friend Brooke, who we know from the restaurant industry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a friend Brooke who she actually reached out to me because she knew that I was a creative person and I had, somewhat art. Oh, what was that? Is that this camera? Battery exhausted. All right. Well, that was your time. We're gonna do
There goes my close-ups.
We're gonna do a one thing. Oh yeah, we left our phones downstairs.
That's okay.
We're rolling with it.
Yeah.
If you'd like to donate an extra camera to us, here's my P.O. box. Just kidding. This is a super old camera. I didn't know if it was going to go well. So my friend Brooke reached out to me, and she wanted to start a business together. We ended up meeting up for a few months, and through that time period, we ended up discovering that it would be better for us to be two separate entities. And she actually runs a really successful social media management and marketing company now. So shout out to Story High. She posts nothing on her Instagram, but she's very successful. She has a lot of really great clients. But yeah, so she ended up, she motivated me to really like tap into the business side of doing creative work. And she was giving me my first graphic design jobs, logo clients, and stuff like that. Even though I didn't know graphic design, but that's what I thought. Funny story, that's what Riskit Design I thought was going to be. I thought it was going to be very service-based and very like client-based because I was doing logo designs, business cards, menus.
Yep. You're very heavy on hand lettering.
Yeah, I was really focused on
calligraphy.
Typography, calligraphy, and stuff like that, which was fun. And I'm really grateful because that's a really good skill to have. But yeah, so this was the beginning. So this was still spring, summer 2017. We decided that it would be better if we were separate, and she could then like hire me out if she wanted services from me. But during that whole period of meeting up, you were helping me realize that it was like, she just showed you could make money off of art.
Yeah. Yep.
And so we don't talk about this often, but it's like this was the period that you were really telling me like, this could be something.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I guess kind of too, like with any, whether it be like a new hobby or a possible career, a goal of yours, results is what show success in the beginning or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like even in the beginning of Riskit, we were mentioning that your parents was kind of iffy about on the idea of starting Riskit.
And actually, before you move on, like, talking about my family, growing up, I was always artistic. Like, me and my sister, we both, like, drew often, and our parents would always tell us we were good at it. I don't know if it's just because they're my parents. But I remember having dreams when I was younger of being, like, a comic artist, like, for the newspaper.
That's cool.
Because that's kind of, like, my only, that's the only exposure I had of art at the time.
Yeah.
And so, like, I would draw, like, Pokemon, and I would get, like, GameStop magazines, and there would be, like, I didn't talk about this last time, but at the back of a GameStop magazine, there was...
GameStop magazine?
Yeah, Game Informer.
Oh, yeah.
And so, at the back, there was always, like, a drawing contest, and so there would be contests for, like inventing your own Pokemon, and it was always like, oh, I would love to like enter in that, so I would like draw stuff, but I would never actually enter. I was probably like 7 years old. But yeah, so like we were always creative and like always drawing growing up, and I was told that was good. But then it's like you get to high school and college, and it's like pick something
the real world.
And it's always like pick something more realistic.
Yeah.
So that's why it was like, even though I was getting logo jobs and stuff like that, and I was able to show my parents, like, look at this gig that I got that paid well. Like, imagine if I continued to work on this, like, what that could become.
Exactly.
But we didn't know anyone in this type of industry. And so it was hard to really...
it was a new world at the time to us.
Yeah, it was still, like starving artist was still, like, a thing, you know? Now, back in our timeline. You were helping me realize.
Results.
Yeah.
Results based, and
Yeah.
I think you just mentioned it. Having just a taste of the results and success
Yeah.
that we could get from it. And it's just like that was one of your first jobs.
Yeah.
And it being that well, just a mindset of just like, oh my god, if I had kept going or if I keep going, how successful can this be?
Right.
And so that's when we, I think, had a talk and decided like, okay, maybe this is something that we could seriously pursue.
Yeah, we could build on it.
Yeah, together.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were still unemployed at the time, and I was still working at the cafe.
Mm-hmm.
But I was getting these gigs on the side, and so, we talked about wanting to take it a little more seriously, and I was at the time assistant managing at the cafe, and I didn't have enough like free time to really build on this. And so what I ended up quitting the cafe job to work at the small women's boutique that's literally right next door.
Cafe.
Women's boutique.
Right next door.
Right next door. And through that transition, actually, there is the Brother Men's store on the other side.
Cafe, women's boutique, men's clothing store.
Which is owned by the same people.
Yep.
And so, after I got hired next door, I got you hired
at the men's store.
Yeah, which is where you work now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so I had always worked for small local business. This was your first time going from corporate to small local business.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and so it was the first time that we had the same hours.
Yes, they often scheduled us on the same days so that we'd always...
we had same days off.
Days off, yeah.
But also the stores have the same hours of operation.
Yeah, so we're just carpool.
Yeah, it was like best because prior I was cafe.
Yes.
Morning.
Yep.
You were restaurant evening.
Night.
And it was.
We never saw each other.
Yeah, it was rough. It was a rough period.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so got you hired.
Yes.
I also worked next door.
Yes.
And then, and then started to work on it in my free time.
Yep.
And so that was 2017, and then
2017 was the start.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Baby steps. I was getting some clients. I was getting paid under the table because I didn't really know what I was doing.
Right.
I started.
Put my feet up.
Yeah, that's fine. But I also started to make my own stickers because that's actually what I found the most enjoyment in. I discovered, and
creating your own things.
Yeah. But what was cool was starting from like a service point of view. Like I realized how much money could be made in being a service provider, like doing logo design and stuff like that. But I didn't know graphic design. Like I was literally teaching myself Photoshop as I was getting clients. Like it was kind of not the best, but I did it.
Yeah.
And so 2018 rolls around.
2018.
I had a couple of clients at that point. I was making some of my own products for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at that point I had made an Etsy, so I was selling my stickers online.
Yeah.
And then I realized that if I wanted to participate in local events and like art markets, night markets, you did need a GE license to operate those.
Yes. Yeah.
And my dad was telling me that like, okay, now that you're making a little bit more money, you probably need to pay taxes on it. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but okay. So I literally just Googled what you need to be a legit business in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And so I got my GE license and I registered for an LLC. Mm-hmm. That was the only thing that I probably learned. No, sorry.
And our TV is LG.
I was going to say, that was probably the only thing I learned in school. That's not true. I do remember learning about LLCs. That's why. So I chose to apply as an LLC in the beginning of 2018. I always forget this, but technically Riskit's birthday is in January. So January of 2018, I became a legit business, and we could start participating in markets.
Yes.
And that was 2018.
2018 was the branching out year.
It was the hustle year.
The hustle year. Hustle in the grind year.
Because it was the first year that we
hustled.
We took it seriously.
Hard.
We were legit. We're legit now. We got to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did all
every market we could find.
Yeah. And it was one of those things where it's like you just kind of cast a wide net and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Because it was like you gotta try everything to figure it out, to figure out what works, but also to figure out what
what
I
sticks.
liked.
And what you enjoyed.
Because that was the year that I actually discovered I actually don't like working with clients. Like, not that I don't like to, but I'd prefer to create my own products.
Yep.
Is what I discovered that year. So we were just doing like night markets, art shows, and I slowly had to like develop my product line and whatnot. And that was also the year that I made a lot of really important business relationships and friendships, because I was able to connect with the local communities that support small creatives. And so 2018 was a lot of work.
It was.
But and it was also we were both working full-time during this
Yes,
during
we
this
were.
year.
Yeah, both full-time at the men's and women's shop, on top of doing Riskit and the markets when they popped up.
Yeah, you should talk about the markets and how it's like it's a 4-hour market.
Yeah, I guess most markets you would notice are a couple or a few plus hours.
Yeah, there's like 3 to 4.
Yeah, but behind the scenes of being one of the booths at a market, is very, very tiring.
Yeah.
So what might be like a 4-hour market shift is like more like 8 hours in that
day.
specific day.
Yeah.
And not even to mention the prep that comes in that week prior.
Right.
And so, yeah, like the setup of a booth is very tiring. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, people might not know or think about. You know, whether it's the tent, the tables, all these things you got to haul out.
The displays,
the lighting, electrical, bank change, supplies, this and that. And then you go through the market, and then at the end of the market, there's the breakdown, and you put it back in the car. You don't even want to take it out of the car anymore.
Oh yeah, sometimes we've like left
it in the
everything
car
for like a week.
Yeah, it's too tiring.
It's like we never do anything after. Like that's the other thing too. It's like I purposely learned to like not do anything for the next 3 days after a market. I'm just like not depressing, decompressing.
Yeah.
Decompressing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like so the week up until a market, we would actually do mock-up booths in our living room. So we wouldn't put up the tent. We don't need the tent, but like we would
just
open
set
up
up the tables,
figure out the displays. You also built many shelves and displays,
and this one
and this shelf here, because it was like over time, like I said, I was really learning that I wanted to create my own products for my shop, and so I was expanding my product line, and so it was like I used to only do stickers. Now I have greeting cards. We don't have a display for greeting cards. Now I'm doing 8x10 prints. We don't have anything that holds 8x10 prints. So you had to build.
Yeah, and as Kristi was creating more things, she needed displays that were specific to each thing.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to do that, instead of like trying to go search online and hoping that it would work out,
or that it would ship in time.
Yeah, we were just like, I'll just build it. And so I got into a little bit more of woodworking.
Yeah.
Not saying that like I'm good at it or anything. It's just like a side hobby.
Yeah.
That's really fun for me. And I would create all these shelves that kind of would go with the tables.
Yep.
And that she would able to use, whether it be for cards, prints. That's kind of mainly it. The cards and the prints. Yeah.
That was like the biggest struggle. But yeah, so we would spend every night after work working on our booth setup like the week prior to an event. So really a 4-hour market is like a week-long thing that like people don't really realize. And so we did that every month
for a
in
year.
2018. And then when it gets closer to like holiday season,
oh man,
there was a year we did like probably 6 events.
I think November
like in
or
November,
December,
we did like 6 events.
No, I think it was more than
like
that.
8 events in 2 months.
Yeah.
So.
I thought it was in a month. 8 pallets. We like never unloaded the car. We just kept it in
Pretty
there.
much. I just had to like restock inventory.
Yeah, it was very tiring. We got a lot of sunburn.
Probably built muscle.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it was an important year. Let me just stress that though.
Yes.
As much as like we complain about it now, like I could not, like I said, I made so many relationships during those times, because there was not a lot, but there was a handful of markets where like I did not make my booth feedback. Like I did not make a lot of money because I don't know, maybe it was just not the right market for us, you know, and we had to learn that through trial and error. There's no other way. But sometimes in those markets that I didn't make my money back, someone took my business card and that became a client down the line. And so it was like there was always something worthwhile, and it was through that whole year that we built exposure. And so even though like people would ask me like if I had to give advice to like how to build like your starting your small business, I always attribute to 2018 of doing all of these markets. But right now it's COVID, so you can't really do that too much. But I think it's the idea of networking and seeing who else is in your community that you can work with and find support with. I also made so many really good friends through those markets who are in the same industry as me, so we can share experiences and we can share all sorts of other stuff. So 2018 was like
the hustle and the grind.
The hustle and the grind. And so fast forward to 2019, it was like the refinement year.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Refinement year. Yep.
Yeah, because it was like,
we were still doing markets,
but we could like
we were selective
yeah
about which market worked out.
We reflected on 2018 and we're like, hey, which ones were like actually worth it?
Yep. And then so we were selective.
Yeah.
That we were refining your wholesaling, right?
Yeah, actually I started wholesaling.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was the year that I started to wholesale to a couple of shops on Island, which goes hand in hand with the fact that I was making partnerships with other local companies.
Exactly.
And at the same time, building my own website to sell my products on my own or like directly to customers. And so that was, so it was really refining and still continuing to learn that, yes, I do want to start working on my products rather than servicing. I was offering client work during those 2 years though. It just wasn't as wasn't my focus. Yeah
Or personally fulfilling.
And I think like at first too, it's like when you're first getting started, you feel obligated to say yes to everything because of the money.
It's a job. It equals money.
And so it's like I was like, if someone did want me to design something, I would say yes, because it's technically like doing design jobs is a big chunk of money at once rather than selling stickers over a period of a month. So it's like, to me, like as a new creative, I'm like, yes, give me the big paycheck. But yeah, it was like I did have a couple experiences of like clients who didn't like my style, and it becomes a stressful kind of experience, and so on and so forth. And so really learned that, okay, we're going to focus on my shop, we're going to focus on my website, wholesaling, and doing selective markets. That was 2019. And you were telling me
we're also still full-time,
but you started to tell me to work less.
I think that's when you started cutting back a day or two from like 5.
And this was big on you. You were telling me to do this because I was like working all the time.
As the years gone by from 17, 18, and 19, and nearing the end of 19, there was success, there was growth in the business, and so we felt that to continue that growth, you needed more time for Riskit, and that was to take away 1 or 2 days at the shop.
Because at this, like prior to that point, this was still very much a side hustle.
Yes.
Like we didn't know that it could be this successful, and that it would be like we could consider it being like my thing. It was just something that made extra cash on the side for a long time. We weren't sure how serious this still would have been. Right.
Or was going to be.
So he was convincing me to start cutting back shifts.
To part-time.
And that's always scary, because we like the security of a paycheck.
Most people do.
And so it's like it is always scary to think like, okay, like, because he was like, imagine if you had 1 more day in the week and how much art you could make and how much that could lead to more sales. But I was just always like, but what if it doesn't? Like, I would like to get that paycheck for that day. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of internal battle when it comes to finances too.
I mean, change in general is usually a scary thing for most. And if you put your money, it's even
Yeah.
more scary. So
Right.
yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right.
But I think you were doing well at the time, and going throughout the year and ending 2019, we're in a really good spot.
Yeah.
But still, kind of like what we said, like not really sure how serious this was gonna be.
Yeah.
Until I guess 2020, the beginning of 2020, and then when we had a talk, right? Or was it at the end of 19?
I mean, it was
Kind of
it
both.
was like we were planning for what. Oh, my freaking thing. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so
Beginning of 2020.
yeah.
So we seen growth throughout the years, and then 2020 we were deciding. Or 2020 we had a big talk about
Our plan for how that year was gonna
yeah
go.
our goals and the plans for
2020.
Riskit. Yeah, 2020.
Which caught us off guard. But
Yeah, so in the beginning of 2020, the goal and the plan was, I'll let you say that though.
Yeah,
The plan was,
yeah, so we had this serious talk, and we were like, okay, business is going well. Like, we're taking it seriously.
yeah.
So it's like, okay, let's use 2020 as like a foundation building year, and that way by the time it's the end of 2020 or the beginning of 2021, maybe we could talk about you leaving your job and running Riskit Design full time. So that was the conversation we had, like January 2020. January and February, I actually had really good sales. I don't know what it was, but I had really good sales. And then March rolls around, and COVID is in Hawaii. And that threw off everything.
Yeah, that was the end of...
First lockdown.
Yeah, end of March, early April was the first lockdown.
Yeah. So being that we were working for a clothing boutique, we're definitely not essential. So we stayed home for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were unemployed. We're furloughed.
Yeah.
And so, being that art is something I do from home, those were 2 months of me just doing Riskit.
Yes.
And
it was a blessing in disguise, basically.
Big silver lining.
Yeah.
And even though COVID is like the worst thing that ever happened to our generation, I know that I saw other creatives and other, even just people who didn't even think they were creative, like really thrive during a quarantine period, because it's the first time you could be at home and be with yourself and do the things that you want to do and really like hone your craft and stuff like that. And so that really happened for me. And so these 2 months of being stuck at home, every day I worked on Riskit, and it did translate to increasing my sales. And it was a huge like wake up call. And we always talk about this period of like the accidental trial run of me doing full time, because I was still, we weren't talking about me quitting my job until the end of the year. The year just started, and so I would never get the chance to try going full time. You can't just like quit your job for 2 months and then go back to your job. Like, so it was like a huge blessing that I could just, for a couple of months, just work on my business and not have to worry about anything else. And it did show that when I had all of my time dedicated to it, it was worth it. And so June-ish rolls around, and the first lockdown is about to be lifted.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so we were supposed to go back to work.
We were supposed to go back to work, and it was just a weird feeling because we had another taste of this like new and big success. And going back to work was just like, I don't know, putting us back in the box.
Yeah.
Hey, go back inside.
Like it showed that we didn't actually need to go back. Like I didn't need to go back to work. Yeah.
Yeah, we were on a hype. We were on a roll, on this roller coaster going up. And we didn't want to stop that momentum.
Yes.
That momentum of going. And so we decided that, hey, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the sign that like that you were meant to go full time.
Yeah. And I had friends who had been doing, they're running their business full time for a while, and they always just say that like I've had friends tell me like, yeah, you could have done this a long time ago, but it's scary.
Yeah,
you don't know.
It is.
And the other thing that you've always told me was that I increased sales during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Like not to like toot my horn, but it was like just goes to show that during a time where people were out of a job, they were still supporting my art and my business. And so think about a time where we weren't in a pandemic, like,
or when things started to get better.
right.
Yeah.
And so you were constantly reminding me that like this is good.
Yeah.
Because I was so ashamed of my success at that time during that period of being at home in quarantine, and like I'm like, why am I making money during this time? I felt really kind of weird about it. But yeah, ultimately when we got the phone call saying that we were gonna go back to work, like it felt like
like a momentum killer.
I was like, I don't really want to. And luckily we're really close with the owners of the shop.
Yeah.
Again, he still works there.
Yeah.
And obviously they are also small local business owners, and so they were super supportive.
Yeah,
you know, and I was
They understand the dream and the drive.
right. And so I also wasn't gonna just be the person to be like, nope, I'm out, find someone else. Like I worked for the next couple of months. And
they helped transition out.
Right. And so yeah, that happened. We went back to school. We went back to work in June-ish. We got married in July.
Yeah, we did.
We got married in the beginning of July, and then what was that? We're gonna got married, and then in August I started my full-time journey.
August.
Yeah, I worked all through July after we got married, and then August was when I started my full-time journey. And this was August 2020.
August 2020.
Yep. COVID is still around.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was crazy.
Yeah.
Because we had thought I wouldn't be quitting my job till like now, like early 2021. Like that was like the original plan.
Yeah, we were just gonna test it out.
Yeah. We were I was probably gonna still be working like once or twice a week.
And that's why we look at that first trial as like a blessing.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm sure like is a really unique situation. Like I feel like I can't, like, people won't be able to relate to this because it's a very like specific timeline that happened.
Yeah, totally.
But it did show me that like when you do give yourself all that time, that you will fuel it into the thing that you're passionate about, because that's what I learned. Yeah. So now it's 2021, and it'll be our first calendar year of me running Riskit full time. Yeah, because in July it'll be like my 1 year anniversary of quitting my job and doing this full time. But this is like a first like calendar year for
Riskit
4 seasons, January to December. So it's really interesting. COVID's still here, like so. But work from home is my life now.
Yep. And we've talked about that. The goal for this year, 2021, was we were going to use this year, and as you mentioned, it being the full calendar year of building foundation for the business, so that in the years to come we can start building our home. Not our home. Just start building on some other future projects to come.
Yeah. And it was like so we've been talking a lot about, you know, what kind of growth will happen this year. Of course, like I think I mentioned earlier, the dream is for us to both be home running the business together. But in order for that to happen, I need to like increase the income that I make through this business. But we've just had so much support, and there's just been a lot of learning lessons, and every month, like it's just fun. It's really fun. And so it's exciting to see what will happen this year, just because everything is kind of a new and a first, and even though it's all things that I'm used to, it's like learning how to keep up with the growth, and also learn how to invest in our foundation building that we want to do this year. And so this year will be really interesting.
It will be. I'm stoked for you because it's your first full calendar year.
And we've been planning a lot. So as spouse partner, it's like we want to prepare for that future of us running this business together. And so he's been learning to take on more responsibilities to help run the business, because like
I cook chicken now.
And you clean the house. Right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's our dynamic, right?
Yeah.
And so we've been talking about a lot of things like you pack and ship orders. You want to learn more back-end stuff and help me stay organized so that way I can just
focus on the art while I do the labor.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. We also want to take over one more bedroom in this house.
Or two.
Or two.
Yeah.
For more business stuff because I'm kind of outgrowing this room already.
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to build like 10 more shelves.
Yeah, I need more of this shelf right here.
Yeah, that's funny.
For anyone who has asked where I bought this.
I bought it.
No,
Yeah.
you bought the wood.
Yeah, I did.
And you assembled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, we got through the whole history.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to say?
I'm looking forward to this year.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this year. My birthday's coming up.
Oh my god. Let me ask, what is the best and the hardest part about being my spouse? As like
the amount of rice you eat and just joking.
Just because you don't eat rice anymore.
No, the hardest and the best part?
Yeah.
The hardest part would be convincing you to take less on your plate and to pass things on to me.
Yeah. The work-life balance is still something I'm learning.
We're both working on.
Yeah.
And the best part is to see you grow, and knowing that you're someone I have who literally pursued their dreams and is successful in it, and like way more success to come too. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks. Yay.
Hey.
Anything else you want to say?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
That's good. You got like 40 minutes. It's a
I'm
long
so sorry
video.
the second camera died.
That's alright. All my close-ups. She didn't want them in.
No, I'll edit.
She's like, I'll switch it to the half-dead battery.
No, you guys saw. I edited this. I edited zoom-ins and close-ups.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Don't mind my slouch.
I know.
I have bad posture.
That's why I wanted you to be in this chair, but you would have slouched anyway. We'll get nicer chairs. I don't know. This is a very impromptu setup.
I got a box.
It's a I forgot the term.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mike Super Short Show. I don't know the arm thing.
I don't know the other thing either.
Mike Super Short Show. What is he does a thing.
I don't know.
Well, we that was a very serious first episode.
It was.
But I hope it was interesting. I hope we talked about everything we wanted to talk about. It's really hard to like condense 3 years into a...
Yeah, I think we hit most of the main details of each year. And yeah, there's a lot more within other things. But we can always bring that up in a future episode.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, I feel like the biggest learning curve is always like figuring out boundaries and like the balance of how to do this, because I think that was people in general with quarantine, like learning how to separate work and life when you're working from home. But now this is like all I do.
Yeah.
But something that my therapist told me, actually, because I was telling her that like I feel like I'm always struggling with the work-life balance, and she was just like, that'll always be there. She was saying like, you think you'll find like a good routine and then something will like throw you off.
Yep.
And she's like, that's just life.
Yep.
And so she's like, don't have that expectations that you're gonna have like the perfect structured schedule for the rest of your life.
It's just knowing when you need balance.
Yeah.
To make sure that you do something.
Yeah.
And that's where sometimes like spouses come in to help remind you.
Yes, because if he was not here, I would be in this room 24/7.
Yeah, she wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
I was gonna get her a mini fridge for this room.
We were gonna pull out a little cot.
Oh yeah,
like a
or a
futon.
floor futon.
Yeah. Or like, you were like, oh, you should put a
mini fridge.
No, you said that, but you're also like, you should put a couch in there. I'm like, no,
Oh,
and I'd
yeah.
never leave.
I would love a couch in here.
A mini fridge is a good idea though. We might get that when we get another room.
Yes.
But yeah, it'll be. That was the other thing.
And a microwave.
We have another microwave.
A mini office. No, I dumped it.
Oh, we'll get like a separate coffee maker for up here.
Yep.
It'd be so good. See, people are gonna want to like. I'm gonna charge people rent to like work in the studio with me. We're gonna have a little like kitchen, a little mini kitchenette. But yeah, that was the other reason why I wanted to start this, because it's something we can do together, and we talk. We have really good talks all the time, and I'm like, we should just record it. But before we get into like our really serious topics, we would just talk about the generic history first and foremost, because you were present through all of this. Like I said, we'll be together for 10 years this year, married for one. And so it's really interesting to have your perspective as the person who is the biggest support block within this all.
Aww.
Cue the aww. Did you hear it? Should I make it louder?
Oh yeah. Aww.
But thank you for being here today. In our next episode, our guest will be Riskit Design's husband. He's a great guy. Oh man, you can see me like holding hands with my foot. Zoom in on that. Okay.
See ya. Cut tape.